There is a certain type of woman who moves through life very differently from others. At first glance, she may seem quiet, calm, maybe even a little distant. She does not try to dominate conversations. She does not desperately seek attention, and she does not rush to prove herself to everyone around her. But the strange thing is, the more time you spend observing her, the more you begin to feel that something about her presence is unusual. It is not loud or dramatic, yet it carries a kind of depth that is hard to ignore. Many people misunderstand women like this. Some think they are mysterious on purpose. Others believe they are emotionally distant, and some even assume they are simply shy. But the truth is much more interesting. According to the psychological ideas of Carl Jung, certain individuals develop a level of inner awareness that makes them experience the world in a completely different way. Their thoughts go deeper, their observations become sharper, and their emotional understanding grows far beyond the surface level of everyday interactions. When this happens, people often describe that person as having an old soul. An old soul is not someone who is literally old. Instead, it is someone whose mind has developed a deeper connection with reflection, awareness, and emotional intelligence. They do not simply react to life the way others do. They observe it. They study it. They learn from it. And when this kind of awareness appears in a woman, it creates a personality that many people find both fascinating and confusing at the same time. Because she does not follow the same patterns most people follow. She does not chase validation from others. She does not waste energy trying to impress people who do not truly understand her. And she does not easily get distracted by superficial trends that dominate modern culture. Instead, she quietly focuses on understanding life itself. This is why many men feel strangely drawn to women with old souls. There is something about their presence that feels calm yet powerful. But at the same time, these women can be difficult to understand because their behavior does not always follow the typical expectations of relationships or social dynamics. They value depth over excitement, meaning over popularity, and authenticity over appearance. So how can you recognize a woman who carries this rare energy? There are certain subtle signs that reveal when a woman has an old soul. And if you pay close attention, you might suddenly realize that someone in your life fits these signs perfectly. The first sign is her unusual comfort with solitude. In a world where people constantly chase attention and distraction, being alone often feels uncomfortable for most individuals. Many people fill every moment with noise, conversations, messages, or social media simply because silence makes them uneasy. But a woman with an old soul experiences solitude in a completely different way. For her, being alone is not something negative. It is something necessary. When she spends time alone, she reflects deeply on life. She analyzes her experiences, her emotions, and the behavior of people around her. These quiet moments allow her to understand herself more clearly. Instead of running away from her thoughts, she explores them. Because of this, she often appears calm, even in situations where others feel restless or impatient. She does not constantly seek approval or validation from people around her because she has already built a strong connection with her own inner world. Many people misunderstand this trait. They assume she must be lonely or antisocial. But the reality is very different. She simply values her mental and emotional space. She understands that constant noise can make it impossible to think clearly. So instead of surrounding herself with endless distractions, she chooses moments of silence where her mind can truly reflect. And this leads to the second powerful sign. A woman with an old soul observes people very carefully. While most individuals focus on what others are saying, she pays attention to how they say it. She notices small changes in tone, subtle body language, and the emotional reactions that people often try to hide. Because of this, she develops a powerful sense of intuition about human behavior. Sometimes she can sense dishonesty, even before it becomes obvious to everyone else. Sometimes she can recognize kindness in someone that others completely overlook. And sometimes she can feel when someone is pretending to be something they are not. This ability often surprises people around her. They cannot understand how she figured someone out so quickly. But the truth is simple. While others are busy talking, she is quietly observing everything. Over time, this constant observation allows her to understand people on a deeper level. She begins to recognize patterns in behavior, emotional reactions, and intentions. And once someone develops this kind of awareness, it becomes very difficult to ignore the truth about the people around them. But this ability also creates a challenge. Because when you start seeing people clearly, you also begin realizing that many relationships around you are built on shallow foundations. And that realization naturally leads to the third sign of a woman with an old soul, which reveals something even deeper about her personality. The third sign is that she feels different from most people around her. This feeling usually begins very early in her life. Even when she was younger, she may have noticed that her thoughts were not the same as the people around her. While others were focused on trends, popularity, or superficial attention, she often found herself thinking about deeper questions. She wondered why people behave the way they do, why certain relationships become toxic, and why some individuals repeat the same emotional patterns again and again. Because of this, she sometimes feels like an observer of life rather than just a participant in it. In group conversations, she might stay quiet for long periods, not because she has nothing to say, but because she is listening carefully and analyzing the energy of the people around her. Many people interpret this silence incorrectly. They assume she is shy or uninterested, but the reality is that she is simply selective about when and where she expresses her thoughts. When the conversation finally becomes meaningful, however, people often become surprised by how deep and thoughtful her perspective is. Her words carry weight because she speaks only when she truly has something valuable to say. The fourth sign is her emotional depth. A woman with an old soul does not experience emotions in a shallow or temporary way. When she feels something, she feels it intensely. When she cares about someone, she invests her heart sincerely. When someone close to her is suffering, she can sense their pain, even if they try to hide it behind a smile. This emotional awareness makes her extremely empathetic toward others. She often understands what people are going through, even when they struggle to express it themselves. But this emotional depth also means she becomes very careful about who she allows close to her heart. Because she knows how powerful emotional connections can be, she does not open up easily. She takes time to observe someone's character before trusting them completely. Many people see this caution and assume she is guarded or distant, but in reality, she is simply protecting something valuable, which is her emotional energy. The fifth sign is her independence of thought. In modern society, many people shape their beliefs according to what is popular or widely accepted. They follow trends, repeat opinions they hear from others, and avoid questioning ideas that seem socially convenient. But a woman with an old soul rarely thinks this way. She prefers to observe life for herself and form her own conclusions. If she believes something is wrong, she will not support it just because everyone else does. And if she believes something is meaningful, she will pursue it even if others do not understand her choices. This independence sometimes makes her appear mysterious or unpredictable. People may wonder why she does not behave the way society expects her to behave. But the truth is, she simply refuses to live her life according to shallow expectations. Her decisions come from reflection rather than pressure, and this gives her personality a quiet strength that many people secretly admire. And interestingly, this independence often leads to another powerful quality that many people do not expect. Because she thinks deeply and values authenticity, she naturally begins to attract people who are searching for something real in life. Some individuals feel inspired by her presence because they sense that she is not pretending to be someone she is not. But others may feel uncomfortable around her because her awareness quietly exposes the superficial behavior that many people rely on in social situations. And this is where the sixth sign begins to reveal itself. A sign that explains why a woman with an old soul often protects her peace more carefully than most people around her. The sixth sign is that she protects her peace more than anything else. A woman with an old soul eventually learns something very important about life. Not every person deserves unlimited access to her time, her energy, or her emotions. Many people move through life constantly trying to please others. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect just to avoid conflict. And they allow people to drain their emotional energy without even realizing it. But a woman with an old soul slowly learns to recognize these patterns. She understands that protecting her inner peace is not selfish, it is necessary. Because of this, she becomes very careful about the kind of people she allows into her life. She pays attention to how someone behaves over time. She notices whether their words match their actions, whether they respect boundaries, and whether they bring calm or chaos into her world. If someone repeatedly creates drama, manipulation, or negativity, she does not waste time trying to fix them. Instead, she quietly distances herself. This is something many people misunderstand about her. Some individuals may think she is cold or detached, but the truth is that she has simply learned that peace is far more valuable than constant conflict. She would rather have a small circle of genuine relationships than a large group of shallow connections that drain her emotional energy. And this quiet strength often surprises people because they realize she cannot be easily manipulated or controlled. But perhaps the most powerful sign of all is the seventh one. The seventh sign is that her presence makes people reflect on themselves. When someone spends time around a woman with an old soul, something interesting often happens. They begin to think more deeply about their own behavior, their own emotions, and their own life choices. Her calm awareness acts almost like a mirror. It reflects the truth back to the people around her. Some individuals feel inspired by this. They appreciate the way she encouraged deeper thinking and personal growth. But others may feel uncomfortable because her presence quietly exposes parts of themselves they usually prefer to ignore. This is why women with old souls often receive two very different reactions from people. Some are drawn to them with deep admiration, while others feel strangely uneasy around them without fully understanding why. It is not because she is trying to judge anyone. In fact, most of the time she is simply observing quietly. But when someone carries strong self-awareness, that awareness naturally influences the emotional atmosphere around them. And this is exactly why such women leave a lasting impression wherever they go. They may not be the loudest person in the room, and they may not chase attention or popularity. Yet people remember them. They remember the depth of their conversations, the calmness of their presence, and the unusual wisdom they seem to carry. According to the psychological perspective of Carl Jung, individuals who develop strong self-awareness begin to understand not only their own emotions, but also the hidden patterns of human behavior. And when a woman reaches this level of awareness, she begins to move through life with a quiet confidence that cannot be easily shaken by outside opinions. She no longer feels the need to prove her worth to everyone she meets. She understands that the right people will naturally recognize her value. So if you ever encounter a woman who carries these 7 signs, understand that she is not simply different by accident. She is the result of deep reflection, emotional growth, and the courage to understand life beyond the surface level. And perhaps the most interesting question of all is this. Have you already met a woman like this in your life? Someone who carries this rare old soul energy? Or could it be that someone listening right now is suddenly realizing that these signs describe them perfectly? If this message resonates with you, Take a moment to reflect on it, because understanding these qualities may change the way you see certain people around you forever.